This video is a record of my journey attempting to recreate a sine wave using the AY-3-8910 chip. This chip has 3 tone generators, A, B and C. They can be switched on individually or together and can be tuned to different frequencies to create very complex sounds. The chip also incorporates a noise generator and also envelope generators. In its native mode, producing sound using the 3 tone generators, the waveforms are largely square wave in shape. Very different to the sine wave which I'm aiming to recreate. The ultimate aim, of course, is for me to be able to reproduce speech using this chip. Others have attempted this. In fact, YouTuber Bild attempted this using the chip in its native mode. He recorded speech, analyzed it using spectrograms, broke it down into component parts that could then be fed into the tone generators to reproduce speech. The results he got are probably the best you'll get following this methodology. So further along my journey, I've been cruising around YouTube. There are many creators who use this chip or emulators or similar sound chips to create really amazing sounds. This one in particular, Heemin, uses the AY chip to produce music and also speech. In the title of this video are the letters PCM, which stand for pulse code modulation. That was kind of a clue to me as to how these sounds were being created. And even looking at the waveforms on the screen there, they more closely approximate the sine waves I'm trying to generate compared to the native mode. Indeed, in the native mode, the signals from the 3 tone generators are mixed together and they can create individual steps which approximate parts of the sine wave. So just a very quick refresher on PCM or pulse code modulation. On the screen here is a 4-bit PCM sine wave. So we use a 4-bit number from 0 to 15 to represent different amplitudes of the signal. But of course the question is, how do we create PCM signals through this chip? I went to the Wikipedia page and had a look. Not any real clues there, but in the reference section there is a link to the Video Game Music Preservation Foundation. Here there are more tantalizing clues, but a little bit thin on details. So here it says, though they were not designed for PCM, they could be programmed to play audio well enough to understand speech. So I'm obviously heading in the right direction. Further down on the page it states that changing a volume produces a click. The greater the change, the louder. This allows to play unsigned 4-bit PCM samples. So it's possible at least to recreate 4-bit PCM sounds with this chip. We need to be able to step the output, have absolute control of the amplitude of the output in order to recreate the sounds that we're after. Reading through the comments of one of my earlier videos, I found even more clues. One commenter here stated that there are also tricks to play 4-bit samples on this chip, like setting the frequency to something higher than the human ear can hear and adjust the volume at maximum speed the chip can handle. So what I set about doing was setting the oscillators in the chip at maximum frequency, at a supersonic frequency around 62 kilohertz, and just adjusting the output volume level for all 3 channels simultaneously. And the result was this. The steps represent the volume levels and the shaded area represents the frequency. So in this case 62.5 kilohertz, impossible for us to hear, probably impossible for the speaker to reproduce anyway. But we're getting closer. So now I have 4-bit control of the output levels. But as impressive as this is, the waveform still doesn't look like others I've seen on the internet. There has to be another way to do this. So in desperation I went back to the datasheet and found this small note, which states that disabling noise and tone does not turn off a channel. Turning a channel off can only be accomplished by writing all zeros into the corresponding amplitude control register. So these are the 3 amplitude control registers for the individual tone generators, A, B and C. So looking at the register table, normally R7, the enable register, would control the outputs. At least this is what I assumed. So in this register R7, the enable pins are all active low, so that means if we write 1s to all of them, then that means all outputs are disabled. But again, according to the note, the channels themselves are not switched off. So, with all the bits in the enable register set to 1, I then went about changing the amplitude values in the amplitude registers. I simultaneously programmed identical values into the 3 registers and incremented the value from 0 to 15. And the result? We have perfect control of the amplitude. We don't have any frequency component there. What is on the output is what we write into the amplitude registers. And in this way, I now have a method of recreating a sine wave, at least with a resolution of 4 bits. The next step was to create a sine wave in Excel, map all the values within one cycle between 0 and 15, and then write those values simultaneously to all 3 amplitude registers. For the big reveal, this is what we see on the oscilloscope. Not exactly a sine wave, but a pretty close approximation. Reduce the delay between steps, increase the frequency. Analyzing these sounds with a spectrogram, we have a fundamental, we have a third or odd harmonic, which we would expect to see in a regular square wave, but we also have an even harmonic. Even harmonics don't exist in square waves. So we have a waveform which is getting close to a sine wave. For comparison, a square wave of the same frequency. This is probably a good time to have a recap on what I've done. So the first step is to disable the tone generators by writing 1s to every bit in the R7 enable register. Then write the desired 4-bit value from 0 to 15 into the amplitude registers. This will result in a DC offset at the output proportional to the value you've written into the amplitude register. 0 being close to 0 volts, 15 being close to 5 volts. Speech is a sound from the natural world. I have tried recreating sounds from the natural world using the AY chip, but I was doing that in native mode, programming values directly into the individual tone generators to reproduce these sounds. However, now I will try using PCM with the ultimate aim of reproducing speech. Well, I hope you found this video informative. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching and have a terrific day.